On September 3rd, 2023, we held a symposium. In this video, I want to do a brief recap of what happened and invite you to the next one. The idea for the symposium first popped up when Dylan told me that both he and Doug O'Loughlin of Fabricated Knowledge were coming to Taipei in September. Dylan and I had held a small meetup back in May. That was a blast. So now that all three of us are here, we should have something a bit bigger. And thus came about the AI and Semiconductor Symposium. Dylan did his magic and found some amazing guests, which we will talk about later, and we booked a venue in early August. It was a beautiful ballroom at the NTU Hospital International Convention Center. We made the first announcement a week later, and by the time sales closed, we had over 400 signups. I'm not going to lie, I was incredibly anxious in the days before the event, setting up seating options, coordinating slides between all the participants, so on. It felt like being back in university. And then, if we are not lucky enough, we have Typhoon Haikui approaching Taiwan. For a few days, we worried over what would happen if the storm hit Taipei head-on, but fortunately for us, the storm turned south. The day of the event, we all met at a wonderful cafe in Beito called Intro Kitchen. I highly recommend it to everyone. Go check it out. Now, I should mention that Dylan sprained his ankle last week whilst drunk dancing. He's been walking around on it for the past whole week, and now it's not doing well. So, with the event starting about an hour and a half away, we take him to the traditional Chinese medicine clinic to treat his foot. The doctor says it will take 20 minutes, and now I am really freaking out. I show up at the room at 12:30, and there are already 30 people waiting. We go up and down the aisles, marking the seat section so people can sit down. Meanwhile, we are frantically taking attendance outside. Our esteemed master of ceremony, Rita, arranges a maniacal car ride back from Beito to the NTUH Convention Center. Dylan arrives 20 minutes late, and now we are off and running. Our first talk was by Frankwell Lin, chairman and CEO of Andes Technology Group. He also serves on the board of the RISC-V International Association. Andes Technology Group is a semiconductor IP company providing IC design services for other companies. They also develop a series of hardware and software products. Frankwell discussed AI accelerators, including those using photonics, and their strong position in RISC-V. He also went over potential methods to continue realizing performance improvements in digital electronics, Moore's Law, new materials and devices which take time, or architectural specialization, and something Frankwell calls extreme heterogeneity. The use of very specialized chips for certain applications, as aided by the newly released chiplet standard Universal Chiplet Interconnect Express, or UCIe. It was a great and informative talk about a company more people should know. Dylan did our second talk. He opened with a metaphor discussing just how computationally expensive AI can be. If you printed out the parameters of a good but not leading-edge model like BERT onto a piece of paper, then that stack of paper would go all the way from Philadelphia to Chicago. GPT-4, on the other hand, would go all the way to the moon and back 10 times over. Dylan's talk was on model requirements for hardware and future scaling, as well as future model architecture and what hardware those models might need. He walked through the memory hierarchy and some of the training costs for the largest leading-edge models. He also compared the costs of running ChatGPT to a Google search, which was pretty interesting. By the way, I find it pretty funny how every time he shows a new slide, a bunch of people lift their phones to take a picture of it. After that, the third talk was by Warren Lau, senior analyst from the Hong Kong-based Alethea Capital. He walked us through some of his fund's theses, especially with regards to the AI boom and the AI supply chain. Making these new products like ChatGPT and Microsoft Copilot mean buying and installing lots of AI servers. NVIDIA is the most prominently featured of these types of suppliers, but there are many others. A high-end server is estimated to cost some $180,000, with the GPU capturing about 89% of that. There was also some discussion of AMD's upcoming MI300 processor, the first CPU-GPU combo, comparing them to the H100 accelerator. Overall, I felt it was an insightful journey into the massive network of vendors feeding into ChatGPT. Doug is a brilliant analyst, and he really brought some fire to the show. He talked about China's big push into the lagging edge semiconductor industry. This has been something a lot of people and myself have been thinking about for a long time. I was going to do a video about it. He went over his supporting items for the thesis. There's a great wave of digitization in the car industry happening right now, and that requires more silicon. China holds a substantial cost and market advantage in EV production, and they are leveraging these advantages to generate immense capacity to flood the market with EV exports. Many of these EV makers are vertically integrated. They're building these fabs for their own internal use, which distorts the system's whole economics. And with the Chinese no longer able to import leading-edge semiconductor manufacturing equipment, it has completely shifted them towards dominating the lagging edge. What this means is that traditional automotive semiconductor OEMs will be hit hard by this new wave of competition and capacity. Very provocative thesis, and I think more than a few friends in the audience were quite moved by it. For my talk, I shared a story about American lithography companies. The video containing the full version of the story will be shared a bit later, so wait for that. But let me share the little anecdote that I told at the start. I remember when I first started at the channel, I made my first video about TSMC early on. The video did better than others that I've done before at the time, and I thought I struck gold. But then I looked at the search terms that were bringing people to the video and noticed that one of the top terms was TSMC Minecraft. And I was like, what? Turns out there is a very large YouTuber called TSMC Minecraft, and he makes Minecraft tutorials. A not insignificant portion of views coming to the channel were not interested in TSMC the chip maker at all, but instead TSMC the Minecrafter. I thought that was pretty amusing. After this, Dylan had not yet finished his slides for the second talk, so we started the panel a bit early. It was also very nice to get Jordan Schneider of China Talk up on the forum, too. He was a bit jet-lagged, but I loved having him on there. We used a service called Slido to collect questions. People could upvote the questions they wanted to answer. We could not possibly get through all the questions that we received, though, sadly. There were some very entertaining moments. Dylan was asked about a possible AI server bust, and he cooked up a big rant about how Jensen likes to go all in with the chip double orders when the going is good. Dylan then goes on to say that that will lead to a eventual bust and a subsequent write-down in inventory. You can't say Dylan isn't afraid to speak his mind. Dylan went up again the second time, talking about his GPU poor concept that he brought up in a prior newsletter. In it, he focused on Google and their massive computing advantage. There were some very fun references to Google's MEMS-based optical switches and how they dynamically reroute traffic. A friend of mine who worked at Google before came to the show and told me via chat that, quote, everything he is saying about Google is pure Google thinking, end quote. And of course, Dylan showed the now infamous chart that got Sam Altman calling him Google marketing/recruiting on Twitter X, with Elon, his Xness himself, replying to said tweet. And with that, we were done. Despite the late start, we finished exactly on time at 5 p.m. And since we had the room until 6 p.m., there was extra time to mingle. Naturally, the audience all ran for the stars of the show, Doug and Dylan. Those two guys are legitimate celebrities. My favorite part was when someone brought a real wafer, a bin one it seemed, for us three to sign. I'm told that when Dylan was signing it, he was able to identify what the chips were, which is crazy. I was suffering from back spasms that day, thanks to the stress of putting this whole thing on, but regardless, it was a pleasure to talk to each and every one of you. I had a blast learning about what you guys do. Nearly 200 people showed up, despite short notice and a raging typhoon outside. I'm stunned and grateful for all of you who came out. To those people, you are the real MVPs. For those who are not able to make it, I'm sorry to have missed you. Come by for the next one, whenever it shall happen. Alright everyone, that's it for tonight. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel, sign up for the newsletter, and I'll see you guys next time.